Hey, Gold Derby fans, welcome to another slugfest where we are going to be discussing competition programs, reality TV, variety talk series, special programming in both primetime and creative arts. So stick with us. We'll explain what we're going through. I'm Denton Davidson, senior editor here with Ray Richmond, Marcus James Dixon, and Daniel Montgomery. And we're going to start off with competition program, where we've got RuPaul's Drag Race, The Traitors, The Amazing Race, Top Chef, and The Voice. RuPaul's Drag Race, strong front runner, but The Traitors coming on strong. RuPaul is not invincible. So it did get beat by Lizzo that year. So is it going to repeat again? Are we going to get The Traitors, or is RuPaul safe? Marcus, what do you think?
I think when Lizzo beat RuPaul, that was a huge shocker. I remember that moment. And but looking back, like Lizzo was a very empowering show. Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls. And it made you feel good when you watched it. As much as I love The Traitors, it's one of my top 10 shows of the year. It's not a feel-good type inspirational show. It's kind of more like on the trashy side. And I mean that with all the love in my heart. And for that reason, I think RuPaul's Drag Race is going to win series. We may see something else in host, but for series, I think Drag Race has this. And this would be number 6 for Drag Race. The all-time record is still 10 for The Amazing Race.
Daniel, how about you?
I agree with that. I'd say RuPaul's Drag Race keeps on winning here, at least for one more year, if not more, with Traders close behind in second.
Ray?
Yeah, RuPaul's Drag Race, absolutely. Even though Alan Cumming has done an amazing job on the Traders, and
Mhm.
it's getting closer to being able to sway a show like RuPaul's Drag Race, but I think it may still be a year away or more.
All right. I think we're all in a consensus here. I'm with Marcus, where RuPaul's Drag Race is still the most uplifting show of all of them, and regardless of the hosting, that the program overall is definitely the easy front runner there. For variety talk series, we're gonna go next. The Daily Show, Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Late Night with Seth Meyers. I'm going with The Daily Show just because The Daily Show has been so strong historically. Daniel, what are your thoughts here?
It's interesting because we've rarely seen this category have a winner that didn't have one consistent host throughout. This one has rotating hosts. But it is the only nominee for talk series that is also up for writing. So I'm going with Daily Show.
Ray, what about you?
Yeah, Daily Show, especially since they got that extra boost of buzz and popularity with Jon Stewart coming back one night and sometimes more than one night a week. Um, uh, these shows are pretty evenly matched in terms of quality. But yeah, it's a good point that the Daily Show it's the first time that we have a rotating series of hosts and not an established permanent host by design, and that they plan to stick with that. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It's still the strongest show. It still comes through with the most bang for the buck.
And it's
Mhm.
the only one of these shows that's ever won before, isn't it? Am
Yeah.
I
Yes.
wrong? Because after Last Week Tonight moved over to the category we're going to talk about next, I mean, that was dominating. So it went from the Daily Show to Last Week Tonight, which is now in Variety Scripted Series, which has two nominees. So very a very complex category. We've got Last Week Tonight with John Oliver and Saturday Night Live, two wildly different types of shows. But Ray, what's going to win this?
I think John Oliver because he never loses. But it's true. It is complete apples and oranges matchup. Um, I've really become even more over the last year a real fan of John Oliver. It's so well done. The thing is, it's easy to take it for granted. It's this little once a week half hour, but it's so beautifully done and so clever and well written and well hosted and smooth. It deserves it. And the fact that it's only got Saturday Night Live to beat. Although SNL, SNL when it's good, it's great, but it can be a little in and out and inconsistent. And John Oliver is is utterly consistent and never really seems to drop the ball.
Yeah, I liked Saturday Night Live this year, but I felt like it was sort of like a building year, and that they're sort of transitioning cast members, and it did sort of feel like it was going in and out, and I think they're going to nail it this upcoming year. So maybe next year at the Emmys, we can talk seriously because we all love when SNL is in a political year. So things are about to get interesting, especially with Maya Rudolph coming back
Yeah.
as
And
Carmen.
it's going to be season 50 too, so they're going to pull out all the stops and bring back hopefully bring back all of the, iconic cast members. So I think John Oliver's safe for this year, but watch out next year, John.
Daniel, do you agree?
Yeah, it's John Oliver. The best chance Saturday Night Live has is next year, 50th anniversary election year. But yeah, I don't see it really being much of a threat this year.
So now the next category is a little more interesting because it's all over the place. Variety special writing, Alex Edelman, Just for Us, John Early, Now More Than Ever, Mike Birbiglia, The Old Man and the Pool, the Oscars, and then Jacqueline Novak, Get on Your Knees. So I'm kind of at a loss on this one. I don't know which direction to go. Daniel, what do you say here?
I am completely at a loss as well. I the only thing of these I've seen is the Oscars. I'm predicting Mike Birbiglia just because he's the comedian I'm most familiar with of
Hmm.
this lineup. Usually, you get like Trevor Noah or Dave Chappelle or Wanda Sykes or the big names. I'm not like super plugged into stand-up comedy all the time, so I don't really know these nominees as well.
Ray, what about you? Do you know why Just for Us is currently the front runner here?
Yeah, Alex Edelman's really good. I think that's justified. And the truth is, I'm always feel a little sheepish and weird about voting for award shows for writing and directing and other things like that. I mean, I know it's. I always wonder how far away are we from having the Emmy show be up for an Emmy. Um, you know, I feel like a lot of people are probably a lot of our followers are probably going for the Oscars just because they don't really know the other stuff. I did actually see Mike Birbiglia's show in person at the Music Center here in LA. It was really good. He's a terrific personality, but Alex Edelman is exceptionally solid. So I feel like and he wrote the whole thing himself. I don't think he even had any help. I feel like that's a worthy front run.
Okay. Marcus, any thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add is that the Oscars has 7 nominations this year, whereas Alex Edelman, John Early, Mike Birbiglia, and Jacqueline Novak only have one, and it's all writing. So if you look at it that way, maybe the Oscars is the front runner here, and the others will all kind of split because they have the same support from the voters. So maybe I'm going to go with the Oscars. I don't know. I have Alex up front right now because he is the overwhelming front runner at Gold Derby, but don't count out the Oscars. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel hosted that ceremony and everyone loves Jimmy. And I don't know. I think people sometimes overlook the Oscars because it's up every single year and it's easy to overlook, but don't forget it this year.
I just don't think of the writing at the Oscars. Usually, when I think of writing at the Oscars, I sort of forget Jimmy Kimmel's great monologues, but I remember the awful banter before giving out awards. So then it
Yeah.
cancels out the writing for me. So I'm just a little biased, maybe. I need to get over that hump.
Yeah,
But
that's true. I always think about, you're right, the banter between the presenters, and you're like,
Right.
really? That's getting nominated for something? But it's true. Jimmy Kimmel is always really good with his monologues, but
so is
I don't
Jimmy
know.
nominated for that?
Yeah, I just pulled
Okay.
up. He is nominated, and a lot of his show writers from Jimmy Kimmel Live are nominated as well. So, they never win because it's always The Daily Show wins writing, or John Oliver or Stephen Colbert, and so it'd be great to have the Jimmy Kimmel writers finally, win a big trophy.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to think about that. The variety special live category. Now we're moving over to the creative Arts side. So there are two different sections on our predictions. But Variety Special Live, the Oscars, Tony Awards, Super Bowl halftime show, the greatest roast of all time, Tom Brady, and the Grammy Awards. I have the Oscars out front here. And then I was looking and I realized the Oscars has never won this.
Ooh.
So I might be like really off base here. But the reason I did that is because when I was looking, you mentioned there's seven nominations. Um, it's the only show in this category that's nominated for directing and writing for a variety special. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it is the Oscars. And then I remembered, oh, yeah, like we all loved the Oscars this year. Like it did feel like it sort of came back after sort of some slumpy, boring years. I thought the Oscars were great. So maybe this is the time that it can actually win. What do you think, Daniel?
I'm going with the Super Bowl halftime show, sort of out of process of elimination. Because I feel like you've got three award shows here that where it's sort of hard to pick one of them that was like, okay, this was like an all-timer kind of example of the Tonys or the Oscars or the Grammys. And then you've got the roast of Tom Brady. I cannot for the life of me see that winning. So I'm going with Super Bowl halftime show. It has won before. Very recently. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before.
The
Or
hip
both.
hop, the hip hop year.
Yeah.
And last year it won directing.
Yeah. So I'm going with the Super Bowl halftime show. Just award shows will cancel each other out in my brilliant analysis, and Tom Brady is just Tom Brady.
And interestingly enough, I think that the guy who directed the winning half was the winning director for the halftime show last year. Did the Oscars that's nominated this year. So and the halftime show. So he's doing well. Ray, what do you think about Variety Special Live?
Um, I can't really say much about the Super Bowl halftime show because I think I was in the kitchen making hot dogs during that time. So, I can't believe that Oscars is never. Did you say it's never won in this category?
No, I'm predicting it.
Yeah,
What are
I
the
I feel it really did. It really did. I'm remembering now that it really was a particularly great Oscar cast.
The Super Bowl
So
is the front runner, but then the Oscars is second
yeah,
to
I feel like this should. Yeah, if the Oscars is going to win an Emmy, this is probably the year for this category. Even though I usually think the Tonys is a far more entertaining show than the Oscars because they do you know all the the production numbers and such. But yeah, please God, don't let the Tom Brady show win. But uh, I'm picking the Oscars in this case. And who was even in the Super Bowl halftime show?
Usher.
Usher,
Oh
Usher.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it got good buzz, but it wasn't quite like it definitely wasn't as buzzy as the hip hop year and
Right.
not quite as big as Rihanna last year, but I mean people liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this was a good Oscar year. I'm picking the Oscars.
I agree with everything you said about the halftime. I mean, the hip hop show was just the best they've done in a long, long time. And then the Rihanna one was also good, but it didn't win. So if Rihanna couldn't win, I feel like the Usher one was not as talked about as hers was, maybe because the baby bump that she had. And the Tonys used to win this all the time. It won in 2017, 2014, 2013, 2012, 2011, 2010, blah, 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 blah. So if an award show were to win, I would put the money on Tony's, but I don't know. I really don't know what to do in this category. I may go with the Oscars, or I may end up going with Usher. It would feel weird to me if Usher won for his halftime while Rihanna lost for hers. That wouldn't feel right to me for some reason.
I
It,
think the Tonys always win when they have Hugh Jackman or Neil Patrick Harris hosting. But other than that, it's a roll of the dice.
And Ariana DeBose was the host this year, and she would win as a part of the team there.
Yeah, it was fine, but it wasn't. The Neil Patrick Harris and Hugh Jackman shows are iconic. I watch those and I marvel and I have to say that I feel very gay during those moments.
Variety series directing, Saturday Night Live, The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel, Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Um, Marcus.
This is one of those apples in a barrel of oranges type categories because you have The Daily Show, Jimmy Kimmel Live, and Late Show are all talk shows, and the directing for a talk show, is pretty much the same from one talk show to another. I don't want to discredit all the directors out there, but they basically have a job to do and they do it. Saturday Night Live is a totally different beast. I'm actually surprised it's even allowed to compete with these because what the director of SNL does is so completely different, going sketch to sketch to sketch, and it's live. These other shows aren't live, even though Jimmy Kimmel has the word live in his name. He's not live. So I think this is an overwhelmingly easy category to predict for SNL just because it's so different and the level of challenge for that director is quite different.
And Ray?
Yeah, I totally agree with Marcus on this, that there's one apple and the other three are oranges. And this is, it seems like a much, much more challenging, difficult task to direct a comedy variety show that's live, that's truly live, rather than ones that are sort of live to tape. I feel like this has got to be the runaway front runner.
Daniel, do you agree?
Yeah, Saturday Night Live, a pretty easy win here. I believe it's won for directing multiple times before, and it feels like the most directed of these, given that the others are talk shows. So you don't think of the direction for a talk show as much as you would for SNL.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I completely agree with all of you that Saturday Night Live is probably just gonna run away with this. I want to move on to Variety Special Recorded, where we've got Dick Van Dyke, 98 Years of Magic, as the front runner with the 100th Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden, Dave Chappelle, The Dreamer, Trevor Noah, Where Was I, Nikki Glaser, Someday You'll Die. So this is an interesting category because it's giving me like the Carol Burnett special versus the Elton John special that both won because they were not in the same category. I'm going to give the edge to Dick Van Dyke here, the 98 Years of Magic, and just because he's such a beloved icon in film and television, and it also has that directing nomination that the Billy Joel show does not have. Even Dave Chappelle and Trevor Noah got a directing bid. So I'm going Dick Van Dyke, but I could see an upset. What do you think about that, Daniel?
I think Dick Van Dyke, just his stature in the industry, will win. I do think it's odd though, where you have these are the three best stand-up specials, and Trevor Noah, Dave Chappelle, and Nikki Glaser, but none of them were among the best written stand-up specials.
It's so weird.
It's so strange this year because if one of these was nominated for writing, I would be predicting it. But yeah, I think Dick Van Dyke wins this handily.
Ray, what about you?
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke. How do you vote against a 98-year-old American treasure? Even though, again, and this will come out when we talk about the special directing, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of the special itself. I mean, he was adorable on it, but it seemed sometimes a little bit strained and awkward. I feel like people are just this is one of those where they're not even going to think about it. Voters won't even think about it a lot. They'll just go, oh, Dick Van Dyke, come on.
Marcus?
Did you say strained and awkward, Ray? That's my love life you're talking about. Stop making. So I was looking back. Dave Chappelle won this in 2018 and 2020, and then he lost in 2021. He lost in 2022. He wasn't up in 2023. So yeah, he's won twice, but he's lost a couple times. I do think he is a strong person here that can win, but I mean, how do you go against Dick Van Dyke? Did you see the clip of him at the daytime Emmys where he's on the red carpet doing a little dance? I mean, come on. And he won daytime Emmy for best guest performer. So he's still racking in the awards at 98 years of age. And something to note, though, he is not listed as a producer, so he will not win an Emmy for this specific project. But Arlene will win. Arlene is his wife, I believe, Arlene Van Dyke.
Yes, he's got enough awards. And the thing with Chappelle is there's a little bit of a backlash against him, that could impact just because of his stance, I think, on trans and certain other things. So I feel like that could work against him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chappelle's more of a Grammys slam dunk than a Emmys slam dunk. I don't, because he never loses the Grammy, right, Daniel? You're the
No, I don't think he's ever lost at the Grammys, and the Grammys don't care about backlash. The Grammys gave Louis C.K. the award after he was canceled. So
yeah, the Grammys don't care. Variety special directing now. We've got Dick Van Dyke again, 98 Years of Magic. The Oscars, the Tony Awards. So the Oscars and Tonys, they're coming from the special live, which the only two from that category. Then we've got Dave Chappelle, The Dreamer, and Trevor Noah again nominated for Best Special and Special Directing without any good writing. And then we've got a random Tig Notaro. Hello again. So she's got the director. What's going on here? I just have Dick Van Dyke again based on just because I have no clue about this where to go because I don't know if they're going to give two Emmys to the Oscars all of a sudden. The Oscars and the Tonys sort of cancel each other out maybe, and then you've got all these stand-ups. So then it sort of just leaves Dick Van Dyke standing there alone again. Ray, what are you doing here?
Standing there alone, but dancing at the same time. Yes, this is where that strained and awkward thing comes in, where I feel like maybe it was difficult directing a 98-year-old man, but it felt sometimes a little bit strained and difficult. And so I'm not going with that to win directing, merely special. I feel like the Oscars was a much better directed show as a broadcast. So it was a particularly good year for the Oscars. Now that the more I think about it, the more I think, it really did deserve a lot of those nominations. So I'm picking it here.
And Marcus.
This one is a really tough one. I am going with Dick Van Dyke for special and for directing. I could see the Oscars winning. That would be Hamish Hamilton. He won last year for directing the Rihanna Super Bowl. But Glenn Weiss is nominated for directing the Tony Awards. He's won, I don't even know how many Emmys he's won. His most recent in this category was directing the Oscars in 2018 and 2017. So, I mean, a lot of former winners in this category. Stan Lathan, he directed Dave Chappelle he won for directing Dave Chappelle in which year was that? 2020. So he could win again. I think I'm just going to go with Dick Van Dyke and just say, even though it may be strained and awkward, it's Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah. I don't have a very good memory because I was just looking at this and now I already forgot. So I don't remember exactly how it lined up. But when I was reviewing this Variety Special recorded and directing, it splits a lot. And oftentimes, something can win Variety Special and not be nominated for directing, or they'll win one and not the other. So it's very common. It's actually uncommon to sort of sweep that. Daniel, what are you thinking in this category?
Here is where I actually have the Oscars winning.
Okay.
It's a live show, so you've got degree of difficulty maybe getting points for that. And you've got some of the most memorable moments of the Oscars, thinking I'm Just Ken, the iconic performance there.
That's right.
Like, even just
really
for that performance, I feel like you could win directing.
Okay. I like
that. That Barbie song, absolutely.
I forgot about Ken. So I think you convinced me to flip.
Yeah.
So you're throwing Dick Van Dyke under the bus?
I might flip too. I forgot about Ken. It was the summer of Ken.
It was.
I still have him winning something. So Dick Van Dyke will be okay. And he's not going to get the award anyway, right? But his wife will have her award, and that's all that matters. Variety series writing, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Daily Show, and Saturday Night Live. This used to be
very interesting category, actually.
I mean, it used to be a contest, but I mean, I feel like this is another one where last week tonight with John Oliver, it's just they're never going
Probably,
to
yeah.
stop checking that.
Even though I thought the Daily Show could have, could compete with it, but now it's like, the mentor and the student. The mentor, Jon Stewart, is getting beat by his student here on with last week tonight. But yeah, it's until it loses one of these things, it's impossible to vote against it.
Daniel?
Yeah, last week tonight until it loses. This is one of those categories. It's just like it's gonna steamroll. And like the year it loses will probably be a surprise, but who's gonna be able to predict it at that point?
So it's won this 8 years in a row. The record, according to Wikipedia, is The Daily Show with Jon Stewart won 9. I don't know if that was in a row or not, but so if John Oliver wins the writing award this year, he will be tied with 9 awards. So I mean, I don't see any reason to predict anyone other than last week tonight for the writing award.
Well, I want to talk about the structured reality program. I'm
Woo!
underwhelmed by this. I think so it's Queer Eye, Shark Tank, Antiques Roadshow, Love is Blind, Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives. I have Queer Eye by default because it's been winning this, but like I don't follow the show very well, and I heard there was like some sort of drama, and the hosts didn't even get nominated this year, and they had been. So like I don't who knows all the gossip about this show, and is there a reason we shouldn't be predicting them to win, and should we be going for someone else? I'm gonna go with Marcus on this because he's the most likely in my eyes to know the answer.
I don't know the answer, unfortunately. I was looking back at this category. Queer Eye has won 6 in a row, and before that, Shark Tank won 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row. So they do like repeats in this category. And if Queer Eye were to lose this, I don't know which one would win. I don't know who's in second place, basically. So that's why I'm going with Queer Eye.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think I was the one who brought up some of the drama. I know there's like some controversy over, there's been some controversy over the cast not getting along. One of them left the show. Um, I think that's probably why it was nixed for best reality host. Um, uh, but again, it's won this category so many times, and like I don't see the clear alternative except maybe Shark Tank. But they've been off of Shark Tank for so many years in terms of winning. So I'm just going kind of Queer Eye by default, though I hope that in such a weird open year, like finally give it to Antiques Roadshow. Please. That would be a cool win
That would be
for it to
cool.
finally win.
The one that left was Bobby Burke, who I know as Caterpillar on The Masked Singer. Mhm.
Ray, where do you stand here?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the idea of them. I'm listening to them saying, and the winner is Antiques Roadshow, and or maybe it would be more of a question when they read it out. No, I think Queer Eye by default. Shark Tank has been around forever. It's already gotten all its accolades. I feel like it's sort of a little beside the point at this point. But I can't, I'm not sure that Queer Eye is necessarily that strong in the category, but I don't see anything else that can compete with it. So by default.
I will say one thing that I'm giving this advice for free to the team for Antiques Roadshow. If you do win the Emmy, bring one of the experts on stage and have them do a live appraisal of the statue.
That's
Oh
a great
my
idea.
gosh.
It's a great idea.
Do that and like, I'm willing this to the universe.
Has it ever won an Emmy, Antiques Roadshow?
I don't think so.
Doubtful, but it's been around like for 30 years, hasn't it?
Yeah. I'm gonna look real fast at the Emmy database. Sometimes the Emmy database is not correct. But it says 22 nominations, 0 wins. So there you go.
Well, then we've got Unstructured Reality Program, and that's Welcome to Wrexham, Love on the Spectrum. Both of those have won Emmys before, and now they're suddenly in the same category. Is that correct, Daniel? You did an article on that, I believe.
Yeah, they actually competed in different years and won those years. Welcome
Okay.
to Wrexham won 5 out of 6 categories last year, and Love on the Spectrum went 3 for 3 the year before.
Okay, so this is a tight race, and then we've got RuPaul's Drag Race Untucked, Vanderpump Rules, and Below Deck Down Under. Shows like Vanderpump Rules, those are fun, but I think that's just like too much drama
Yes.
for Emmy voters to take seriously. But we're happy that it's nominated because we like shows with the drama, but they don't tend to win the Emmys necessarily. So I think it really comes down to Welcome to Wrexham and Love on the Spectrum and which direction they're going to go this time. I have Welcome to Wrexham on top, just because they seem to like go for these sports things. I'm going with Beckham. They liked
Yeah.
Ted Lasso. Soccer's a big deal right now for Emmy voters. Daniel, where do you stand in terms of who will win this category?
It is a tough one because they are both. Basically, they're both defending champions because they haven't gone head to head against each other, and they both won the last time they were nominated, and they both swept the last time they were nominated. So I'm going with Wrexham. It does have more nominations. It has winning 5 out of 6 last year. I think was a huge deal. So I think that's the one to beat. Though Love on the Spectrum is a really really close second.
Marcus?
I'm predicting Welcome to Wrexham. And remember at the Emmys last year, the Primetime Emmys, when Rob McElhenney was up there with the other It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia folks. And they're like, the other three were like, oh, we've never been nominated before. And he's like, well, I have, and I actually won last year for Welcome to Wrexham. So for that reason alone, I hope they win again.
And Ray.
Um, I had Love on the Spectrum, and now I just changed it to Welcome to Wrexham because that's how I roll. Um, uh, no, I think Love on the Spectrum is very moving, very real show. But I think Wrexham, it actually hit a stride even greater, and already has won so many. It hit a bit of higher stride in season 2, and I feel like it's gaining momentum. A lot of people know many more people in the general public are fans of the show now. It's sort of picked up the mantle that Ted Lasso dropped when it didn't come back. Has it finally been canceled? Does anyone know? They never
I
actually
think it's
acknowledged
still
that it was
technically in
canceled.
limbo.
Wouldn't that be interesting if it comes back like 3 years later? But yeah, I think it is a 2-horse race here, and probably Wrexham.
Well, let's wrap it up with one of the most exciting ones, in my opinion, reality host. We've got RuPaul Charles from RuPaul's Drag Race, Alan Cumming, The Traitors, Jeff Probst is back for Survivor, Kristen Kish for Top Chef, and then the Shark Tank hosts for Shark Tank. Which now that I'm looking at that, maybe that does give them a little leg up over Queer Eye, who got snubbed for hosts. I'm not sure. I have to look into that a little bit. But I'm gonna start with you, Ray. Are you predicting Alan Cumming can take down RuPaul for the first time, or will the Queen stand once
I'd
more?
like to see the mud wrestle to decide this, but failing that, I think I keep going back and forth, and I had Alan Cumming until a couple of days ago, and then I switched back to RuPaul. I just feel like he is so popular. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves the show. Alan Cumming is as close as anyone is going to come to dethroning him, and he could. Maybe people are ready for something new. So I'm probably going to go and switch back and forth 6 times between now and September. But for now, I'm sticking with him.
Yeah, I would love to see Alan Cumming win an Emmy, but I'm playing it safe with RuPaul. I mean, how can you vote against someone that's undefeated? Like never lost. Even when Lizzo beat them for show, RuPaul was still winning. So it's hard to predict that time correctly when they're finally going to lose. Daniel, where do you stand here?
I've decided this is going to be one of those categories where I'm adventurous. So I am going with Alan Cumming.
Okay.
Yeah, I do think it's his first nomination for hosting, but he's been nominated several times as an actor at the Emmys. He hasn't won yet. And like I don't know, like when RuPaul first won, that was RuPaul's first nomination, coming in beating, I think it was Jane Lynch who had won the two before. So I think it could be the same thing where it's just like the hardest part was getting nominated, and now that he's in, Alan Cumming is the winner. But again, anyone betting on RuPaul is not wrong.
Well, like I said about Kiki and Jane and game show host, RuPaul and Alan Cumming both play characters. That's what really set them apart from the competitors in this category. And RuPaul hasn't had to deal with someone else who played a big character like Alan Cumming in the Traitors. Marcus.
I haven't seen any of these shows. Just
Shut
kidding.
up.
I'm a big reality fan if anyone doesn't get the joke. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention, this is not a two-way race. This is a three-way race. Jeff Probst has never lost Best Reality Host. He's 4 for 4. 4 nominations, 4 wins. And then he strangely got snubbed every year since then until now. So we have RuPaul, who's won 8 in a row. RuPaul has never lost Best Reality Host either. It's RuPaul versus Jeff Probst versus the new guy on the block, Alan Cumming. And are we worried at all that Alan was snubbed for season 1? Do you think that matters?
I think that they weren't really, I mean, The Traitors wasn't nominated either as a show. It was only nominated for and won casting. So, and they actually were casting the unknowns. They weren't casting the celebrities. So it wasn't casting, and this year was all celebrities. It's kind of like a totally different
Right.
dynamic.
So this is an interesting category. This is definitely the hardest reality host has been to predict in probably 7 or 8 years since RuPaul's first time being nominated. And my heart wants to go with somebody new, Alan Cumming, but knowing the Emmy voters and how they love repeats, I could easily see RuPaul winning this again. Jeff Probst is a very, very strong third place. And Kristen Kish, the brand new Top Chef host, she did a wonderful job, didn't she? Going from contestant to host, like that's a huge story for her. And then the Sharks are not out of this either. I don't know what to do with this one. I'm gonna probably go with Alan Cumming, and I'm probably gonna get it wrong.
Don't give it to the billionaires; they have enough.
I think the Sharks are out of it. I think
forget the Sharks.
I agree with you. It's probably a 3-way race, and I guess Kristen Kish is a wild card because, but kudos to her for coming in behind Padma and getting in right away. So, and because she's not well known herself outside of Top Chef, but
And what you said about the performance aspect, that does hurt Jeff Probst because Jeff Probst is being a host, whereas Alan Cumming is putting on a character. Like
Completely.
He is playing the villain of the castle, which is just so fun to watch. And if the voters love the Traitors as much as we do, I think he has a really good shot. But I mean, how do you go against RuPaul? How? I don't know. I don't know what to do.
it's so weird with Jeff Probst too because the Survivor came back last year without Jeff Probst being nominated, and now Jeff Probst is nominated this year without Survivor being nominated. What are they doing?
It's
How
very
long
strange.
has it been since Jeff Probst was nominated?
So the very first 4 years of this host category were 2008, 9, 10, and 11, and he won all 4. And then from 2012 till now, he's been snubbed.
Shut out. Wow.
So this was a long time ago.
It was.
It will be interesting.
Well, unless anyone has any final thoughts, that sort of wraps up another slugfest, and we'll probably be back closer to the actual Emmys and give some quick final predictions. We're talking about maybe doing like a fire round where we just sort of burn through each category in a minute or so, and see how things land. But thanks everyone for watching. Remind me, Creative Arts Emmys are September
7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. Primetime Emmys September 15th. And we'll have a lot more slugfest. You'll see Joyce and Chris Rosen. You'll see all types of mixes and interactions of people talking about the Emmys going forward. And thanks for watching.